We've made it to Easter 3, so we are pretty deep into the Easter season now, about the midway point, and we are really focusing on the stories of the gospel narratives of the resurrected Christ. And one of the ways that we're focusing is by sort of telescoping the beginning of the liturgy. We talked last week about how we're coming in with our hymn and procession, and then we move right through the Collect of Purity to a hymn of praise. This week we will repeat the Powell Gloria that is so familiar and beloved by all. And then we'll go right into the Collect of the Day and the sequence hymn. And the sequence hymn this week is one of the wonderful Easter hymns that we don't sing quite as much. It's not as familiar, and yet the text and the tune are so very, very lovely. It's Love's Redeeming Work is Done, and the text is by Charles Wesley, and it's paired in our hymnal with an early American tune that suits the text very, very well. And of course the Wesleys had their own connections with Savannah, Georgia, and so there's a little bit of a biographical tie-in even with the tune. But I really encourage you to sing along with that sequence hymn, or at the very least to pay attention to the beautiful poetry. As the service goes on, as I say, we will focus on the gospel, and we have one of those very tender readings, the interaction between the resurrected Christ and Peter, and Jesus asking Peter, "Who do people say that I am?" The choir will sort of be commenting on that a little bit at the offertory anthem when we sing Benjamin Britten's Hymn to St. Peter. And of course, this is an antiphon for his feast day, and it really focuses more on the idea of Peter, who is sort of posthumously badged as the first pope, or as the father of the apostolic tradition. And this hymn of St. Peter, it starts off with a really bold and strong unison lines. The choir moves, singing in these octaves, although every once in a while a part will have a different note. So it's sort of unison with some wrong notes, but it's really interesting and very effective the way it does that. And then in the middle, there's sort of a scherzo, a very quick section where the voices dance around each other before a return to that strong unison hymn with wrong notes. Really beautiful and very interesting anthem. And then the rest of the service, the hymns and the anthems, really thinking about that intimacy that Christ has in those narratives, especially in the breaking of the bread. And that harkens back to the Collect of the Day, the prayer for the day that talks about being known to Christ, or that we know Christ through the breaking of the bread. And then, of course, during the Easter season, we have that beautiful fraction anthem that uses that text. So everything is sort of connected all together in this liturgy, and so we hope that you'll really enjoy all of those aspects. And then we certainly hope that you will come back and join us for Evensong. We have Paul Thomas, who's the director of music at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Chattanooga, coming to give our prelude recital at 4:45. He has 4 really wonderful organ pieces planned for that 20-minute recital, some really engaging organ music. And then the service of Evensong has some of St. John's most popular music. We'll be doing a Magnificat and Nunc Dimittis that was composed by David Hogan, and this is one of the most familiar settings of the evening service that the choir does. It's a very tuneful and very enjoyable setting. And then the anthem for Evensong is One in Christ, with that really amazing text from the Eucharistic prayer of the Church of England Common Worship, their contemporary language prayer book, that says, "While we were still far off, you came, you met us in your Son, and brought us home." Such intimate words, and it's really wonderfully and powerfully set by the contemporary composer George Arthur. So we have a whole day of wonderful music, starting, of course, with the 8 o'clock Rite 1 Eucharist, and then the 10:30 Eucharist with choir, and then later in the afternoon with Evensong. We hope that you will come and break bread with us and fellowship with us as we celebrate the resurrected Christ this Sunday.